If you didn't watch the trailer for The Rings of Power Season 2, there were a few figures behind Galadriel and Elrond, among others, and a dark clip from the trailer, and it was just confirmed that these figures are indeed the Barrow-wights as speculated. Now, while this doesn't make too much sense, as the Barrow-wights weren't actually a thing until the Third Age, I suppose Sauron, as opposed to the Witch-king, could have summoned them as early versions of the Wights, and it is stated that these are former kings as they are in Tolkien's actual work, though it does look like they are striding away from Tolkien's writings regardless. This video isn't about theories and opinions on the show, however, it's simply for those who don't know who the Barrow-wights are, that way you're familiar with them before the start of Season 2. Described as undead spirits with cold and gleaming eyes, the Barrow-wights occupy the lands east of the Brandywine River, and past the old forest, known as the Barrow-downs. A graveyard of sorts located in Cardolan of Rhudaur, which was part of the former kingdom of Arnor. In the First Age, the ancestors of the Edain, the brave men who fought alongside the elves in many battles for Beleriand against Morgoth, including the War of Wrath, would construct many of the mounds, graves, and barrows located in this land. This would be before they themselves eventually leave and travel into Beleriand over the Blue Mountains. Now, in the Second Age, once Numenor had fallen, Elendil would travel to Middle-earth and establish the aforementioned Kingdom of Arnor, with it eventually being split into three kingdoms known as Arthedain, Rhudaur, and the one I mentioned earlier, Cardolan. This last kingdom is where the Barrow-downs were located, and in this age the kings of men would be buried in these burial mounds. In 1409 of the Third Age, being already in the midst of battle, the might of Angmar would overcome Cardolan, with many of the Dunedain there being defeated by the orcs from the kingdom of Angmar. However, this evil force would be bested and driven away by the elves of Lindon, Rivendell, and Lorien. Though in about 1636 of the Third Age, nearly 230 years later, Sauron would release the Great Plague, which would spread to Cardolan, killing off much of the population. To make matters worse, the Witch-king of Angmar, Sauron's greatest servant and the head of the Nazgul, would send forth evil spirits from his territory of Angmar, as well as from Rhudaur to Cardolan, and they would possess the lifeless bodies of the former kings of men, spreading terror across the land, and appearing as skeletal and unsettling figures, to rule over the Barrow-downs in order to prevent any sort of re-emergence of the once great kingdom. As for what exactly the evil spirits who become the Barrow-wights are, it isn't exactly known, though it is theorized that they were once Maiar corrupted to serve evil, or perhaps the spirits of orcs, evil men, or even corrupted dark elves. Nevertheless, in 3018 of the Third Age, the year Frodo Baggins begins his expedition to destroy the One Ring, the Nazgul, and specifically the Witch-king, would head to the Barrow-downs and warn the Barrow-wights of possible interlopers who may attempt to travel through the land. Of course referring to Frodo and his other hobbit companions. The day following the Witch-king's departure, Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin would be captured by a Barrow-wight and held in one of the barrows. The barrow that most likely housed the grave of the last prince of Cardolan. Frodo would witness his friends laid out and asleep, though they looked dead, all in white and wearing gold, with one long sword across their necks. In the darkness, Frodo heard something chilling and horrible. Suddenly a song began, a cold murmur, rising and falling. The voice seemed far away and immeasurably dreary, sometimes high in the air and thin, sometimes like a low moan from the ground. Out of the formless stream of sad but horrible noises, strings of words would now and again shape themselves. Grim, hard, cold words, heartless and miserable. The night was railing against the morning, of which it was bereaved, and the cold was cursing the warmth for which it hungered. Frodo was chilled to the marrow. After a while the song became clearer, and with dread in his heart he perceived that it had changed into an incantation. The incantation essentially states that the four hobbits that lie on the cold stone of the barrow will never wake again. Something interesting to note is that Merry, in his dreams, likely saw the memories of the last prince of Cardolan, as Merry had experienced the prince's death in his dreams as he is killed by spear when he is defeated in Angmar, specifically in the capital of Carn-dûm, which Merry mentions. Frodo and his friends would be saved by Tom Bombadil, and Tom would give them each a barrow blade from the Horde. These would be the daggers of Westerness. Tom also takes a brooch for his wife Goldberry, as it belonged to a woman he and his wife knew long ago. After the events of The Lord of the Rings and the downfall of Sauron, it is not known what actually happens with these spirits or the land itself. However, it's safe to assume they fell with their master, along with all things fell and evil. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a thing or two about Middle-earth, despite it being a little bit shorter than normal. Have a great day. See ya.